Now, the next thing I wanted to mention was the idea of overlapping action, where in this assignment there has to be some overlapping action. So the criteria for the assignment is that, number one, it has to be symmetrical. Both sides have to work together at the same way. So whatever you do with this arm over here, when the other arm swings forward, it has to match that position. I will give you one exemption to that, and that will be that if your character is scared and they're running, you can have their hands straight up in the air as though they're going, ah! Okay, so their arms are just sort of flailing up above their head, meaning that, whoops, let me just grab a blank sheet of paper here and I'll do a quick sketch of it. Here are the options that you can have with your arms. You can have them pumping, as I've shown you there. You can have them up in the air, like that. You can have them forward, like that. Okay. In which case, if you do either one of those options there, you don't have to do a churning action where you have opposition. But you do have to have an overlapping action in this case here, because the fulcrum point is right here in the shoulders. So when the body's moving up and down, your arms have to follow in that overlapping action, which means that you're going to do your arms secondary to everything else. You'll be doing your animation for your legs or standard positions for them, which I've already shown you. Your up and down action with the body. You might put a little bit of overlapping action in the head, but then your arms, you draw them on the second set of drawings. So once you've done your primary keys and dropped in all your in-betweens, then you can go back and add your arms by shifting over one drawing to do the delay, or by two drawings if you want to do it. So it's similar to what we did, remember when we did the perpetual bouncing ball with the tail, or even with the secondary ball. We did the primary ball bouncing up and down, and then we shifted over. Remember we looked for drawing number 5, where the ball was going its fastest speed, and that's where we put the big stretch position on the top ball. Or we knew that the tail, remember this, where we put the stretch position on the ball like this, and we knew that the tail was going to be pulling down like that. Okay? So when you know what that position is going to be, that's where you do it in. So on this drawing here, where the character's at the high point, the arms here, he's on his way up, so the arms might be actually down like this, and you might overlap the fingers a little bit like that, so that when he gets up to the high point, they then go too far, up like this, and perhaps you've got your hands like that, and then they come back down with the hands trailing. So it's similar to what we did with the arm swing, where the hands are trailing in behind. It's just that now your hands are going to be going like this. But you don't have to do a big wave action with it. You could just have it going up and down like this if you wanted to. Right? So I'll allow you the flexibility there because you're deciding on the emotional context of this run. Okay? You're making a lot of decisions here. So you decide how far you're going to make it as far as the motion goes, how extreme it's going to be, and therefore it's going to dictate how loose or how stiff are his arms, the character's arms, he, she. Okay? So you can do the straight arms in front, you can do the arms up above, where they're just trailing behind. If you want to do them where they're going like this, waving back and forth above his head, that's fine with me. If you want to do a frantic one, like let's say you're extremely scared and the arms are just going all over the place like this, then you can do that as well, where it's just random arm positions on every single last drawing. And it looks kind of cool when you do it. But the legs have to be churning on a regular cycle. You can't do the weird, scramble feet type thing. Okay? So, the legs have to be symmetrical. If you're churning the arms, they have to be symmetrical. If you do something else with the arms, then they have to do overlapping action of some sort. Same thing with the head. Has to be the up and down action. Has to be smooth. There can't be a limp to it. Okay, so it's, again, in the symmetrical thing, it has to be even on both sides. Right? So there's no dragging of one leg or anything like, no zombie single leg drags or anything like that. All right? So, those are the options that you have. Happy, sad, angry, scared. And the body attitude will reflect that clearly. I need to see a face on the character, but do not change the expression. Essentially, you're going to keep the face the same. You only have 8 drawings if you're going to do a fast one. There's not enough time to change the character's face. It'll look weird if you have the character doing anything weird in the middle of it. Okay? So if you want to open the character's mouth like he's screaming, open up the mouth. Okay, if he's really happy, you can make him smile, etc., etc. So now the cadence issue is one of what is the attitude of the pose. So if your character is very happy and in love, like I said before, they might have more of a spring and a high point, which would modify this key position here. You wouldn't necessarily have that type of a pose. You might have something completely different. So for my character, what I was going to do with him, just back up here, I'm going to make him somewhat anxious and scared in his run, but here's the little thing that I'm going to do with it. I'm not just going to make the character run straight up and down like this, like the perpetual ball bounce. Because he's got such wide legs, I have to modify the run so that he's actually going to be going back and forth like this in the cycle. So I have to think in terms of 3-dimension. Right? So what I do is, in my mind, I don't necessarily have to do this on paper. Sometimes it's helpful to do it on paper. I would draw a plane in here and actually draw it out as a box, a 3-dimensional box like this. Like I've got a glass coffin there. And that would describe the parameter of where his body would go from one position to another. So on the one side, his body would be over here, and on the other side, his body would be over here. So in perspective, it's going to get slightly smaller as he moves away, and it adds more dimension to it. Right? So when he gets over onto this side here, my position for his leg might be like this, with this leg squished down, and this knee back like that. And on the opposite side, I would have his opposite leg squished down, and this leg here coming forward, maybe dragging his foot like this. But I might also tilt his body over here so that the body shape is more like that. And on this side here, the body shape would be going this way. So my center line would be curved slightly over here. This center line would be curved out and away that way. So one is tilting towards this direction here, the other one is tilting away in that direction. And my high point would be up and above that arc. So I would have another high point that's up here. I mean, I'm sort of exaggerating it here. Let me just see. Okay, so I'm going from this leg position here. So I would stretch out this leg here to get my power off position. And bend this leg here back, something like that. So I'd be going from here up to here, and then down to this position over here. And then from that I'd be coming back in the opposition to this one here. Up and over, up and back. Okay? And as he goes through these positions, I would then go into my in-betweens and figure out where are the arm positions on each of these. So for this one here, as he's reaching his high point in the arc here and then coming down on the opposite side, it's safe to say his arms would probably be down trailing like this on either side. His head would be in here, and probably with the chin facing down like that. Okay, so the arms are basically going to flop up and down like this, like chicken wings, as he runs. So in this pose here, as he hits down in that point, his arm would probably be on its way down, the fingers dragging this way with his thumb out here on that side. So hitting down and then popping up into this direction. So there's my, what assignment is that? If this is my perpetual bouncing ball with a body, what's my arm? Hmm? No. The tail. Tail on the double ball bounce. Okay? It's just a tail that's pulling off to the side there. Okay? The head is the second ball. So when he goes up in this direction here, his head is being squished down into the body more. And as he starts to come down on the opposite side, his head would stretch out. So my in-between from this position down to this position on the far side over here. Okay. There's his foot coming down. The wrong side. See the stretch in the body? I can do the same thing with the head. On the side here. So there's the path of action for the arm. Okay. So it's just a double ball bounce with a tail. We're just making it into a run cycle with the legs, making sure that you're getting the attitude from the emotion. Okay? If you want to do a little bit of perspective stuff in it, go ahead and have fun with it. Okay? It's no different than the walk cycle. It's no different than any of the other assignments that we've ever done. It's just a character now, but base it on the simple shapes. Don't think all the detail and everything. Okay? Simplify it down so you're just basically moving 2 balls, 1, 2, and the arms are a tail, and then you're attaching the legs on to cushion and push in the run. Right? So your 2 primary keys, your extreme position at the high point, whatever that's going to be. So you can see my leg position here is not the same as what I had in my previous drawing. In my example, it's not the same as this position here, because it wouldn't work for this type of an action. Right? For me to throw his leg out in this position here like this, okay, that might be too weird. It could work, but it might look kind of weird. That's not what I want to portray. Okay, so I might want to do that partially on the way down. I might want to kick the leg up and forward there, and then have it pop down to this position here, like that. See this leg here going to that position there. It might make more sense to do something like that as an in-between. Okay.